Hi, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Experience. So, they got the white woman across the street over there. As I'm walking over here to the bus, we get to the corner, and she started doing these hand signals. All right, and I'm just like, wow. Stalkers, man. These people, they're sick. They're crazy. They're the crazy one. Understand this, right? They're the crazy one because if you as a man is stalking a woman, they'll say that you have a mental illness and you're stalking and you're keeping this and that. But these people, because they are multifaceted in terms of their ethnic groups, they use many people of different ethnic groups to stalk you. That's how they try. That's how they attempt to get away with it, right? In terms of stalking you. But again, they're emboldened because the predators and on the New York Predator Department and predator law enforcement agencies have created this cult, right? And again, it is to remove those of us that in quote unquote the FBI talks about in the memo about seeking out those potential within black men and black women to be leaders and to control them or to destroy them if they cannot be controlled. And through coercive persuasion programming, through covert manipulation, covert psychological operations, this is what they've been doing in our community and have infiltrated the black churches to where the black churches are now part of the ops, meaning they are part of the psychological, operational agenda to use Christianity. See, she shake his keys. Look at her with a pinky finger. I'm stick my pinky finger at her too. Again, mirror it is what it is that they do. I'm gonna stick up my pinky finger as she's walking towards me. Right? Oh yeah. Because ultimately, these are the people who are responsible. These are the people who have conspired against black people. Just because they move into our community doesn't mean, or the community that we lived in, doesn't mean that they come in there with any good intentions, okay? Because there's always, whenever white people move into communities of color, they replace those people, and again, and it'll take a couple of decades, but eventually that is what will happen. We tend to forget about these things. We tend to not know about these things. And the reason why it takes a couple of decades is because it lessens the anger within the people who are going to be displaced. That's why they do. They understand that through a length of time, you can lessen the anger of what it is that they do. So every couple of years, your neighbor might move. You might move out of the neighbor because it gets too expensive, right? Meanwhile, they're also replacing. So they, like I talk about, they do what is called, they talk about the great replacement, but they are the ones who are engaging in the great replacement, right? This is how they displace us, right? They have a history of it, but we don't want to listen. We don't want to look at that, right? And the thing about it too is that you have Negropeans in our community, particularly the religious ones, right, who are catching hell, but because religion has been conditioned into their psyche through cultural, to the culture and also through childhood, right? So being able to, another ambulance, right? Being able to condition their children and us as children with religion, as you get older, it's only going to solidify the belief system within you unless something happens, unless you come into contact with people who think different, who know the truth, right? Because believe me, everybody have questions about their religion, right? Everybody have questions about their religion, okay? But when they go to ask those questions, they're being told, don't question God, have faith. You know what I'm saying? Listen, you walk by sight, not by faith. Always understand that. You walk by sight, not by faith. You think these white Christians walk by faith? They don't walk by faith, despite what they say. They walk by sight. How do you notice? Open your eyes. Look at the policies that they've enacted. Today I talked about New York City school system continue to be the most segregated school system in the nation. That's not by fate, right? That's by them enacting policies to underfund schools in which majority black children and Hispanic children go to. They're not walking by faith. We're the dumbass who keeps talking about walk by faith and not by sight, right? I tell you, when Christians say that, just tell them, hey, why don't all of y'all go stand in the middle of the highway, okay? Close your eyes and just stand in front of oncoming traffic. And let's see how much faith you have that your ass ain't gonna get run over by a car, by a truck, right? Because we've been conditioned to say these things, and it has become part of the culture, particularly the religious aspect of European Christians, right? But it makes no sense. We will put a Bible in the hands of our children when we'll say, read this scripture, read that scripture. Meanwhile, a young child is in China, right? And they're teaching that young child how to garden, how to cook. They're teaching them how to code, or her how to code, at a very young age. And they don't believe in your God, right? They're not living by faith, right? They're living by sight. Go look at China and see how much more advanced they are than us. Go look at the test scores with K to 12, whatever from kindergarten to primary or secondary primary school. What the scores are. They are a highly educated people. Okay? They don't believe in your God. Go to Japan. South Korea. Right? Go look at Switzerland. They're not a religious country. Right? There are countries in Europe that are not Christian leaning, right? And Christianity or other forms of religion are not even, the most in the population of people who practice these things. They're non-believers, and they do better. They have better social policies. The education system is better, right? You look at the infrastructure, it's better. All right, so again, we're so brainwashed and conditioned to not see the reality of what's going on, right? Because like I said, epigenetics, we have been bred, our ancestors have been bred to survive with less. So now we, their ancestors, we can survive with less. Now imagine when things really get bad. Things are bad now. Imagine when things are really going to get bad. Okay? And see the reaction of white people. Okay? You'll see. And I'm not saying this because I'm some prophet. I'm saying this because it has happened before. Right? It has happened before. You look at the history of these people. They went to war against the king because he levied taxes on the tea. Right? You know what I'm saying? They went to war with each other because the North, the neoliberals in the North, the industrialists, realized that the conservative in the South were wealthier than them. They had more millionaires. Right? They give you this bullshit story about Abraham Lincoln, freed the slave because of some morality he had. It wasn't about morality. It was about economics. Right? And they perpetuate that lie, particularly within the liberal school system, and we believe it. When, in Lincoln's own words, he said that if he can keep the institution of slavery in the South, he would. To keep the Union together, he would. Right? But no, it's the wealthy, greedy, industrialist capitalists couldn't have it because the South was going to become the dominant economic player. And they had to put a stop to that. So we walk around here, talking about Lincoln and these people have no morality, but they have allegiance to money and wealth. That's who they have. They have allegiance to money and wealth, right? And guess what? Like I said, there's more poor white people in America than poor black people, right? But the majority of white people will still vote for a racist guy, right? Whether and who is doing things to show them that you don't give a damn about them, but they don't care. You want to know why they don't care? Because black people, you're going to be in a worse off condition. They're in a bad condition themselves, but you are going to be in a worse off condition. Okay? And they will always pick a person who will steal from them than to put a black man in the office that will do things for them. All right? Okay.